Now, Josh, I got to be honest with you. I've always said that we are both huge NFL fans. I think we both acknowledge the NFL is both of our favorite sports. We talk about it the most in this show, obviously. We spend a lot of time on it. I think both of our favorite shows of the year are the NFL prediction shows. Your second favorite sport, I think, bar none, and I don't mean to speak for you, but I think the viewers and I can tell it is the NBA. And I think you are, in general, a little bit of a bigger NBA fan than I am. With that being said, I just want to make this statement out front. I think these NBA playoffs so far have been a disaster. And they have been mostly garbage filled games that have been blown over by midway through the third quarter at best. Over the weekend, we had 8 NBA playoff games, and 2 of them were close. That was basically Nuggets T-Wolves game 4 on Saturday and Cavs Raptors game 4 on Sunday. Sunday's games, outside of Spurs Blazers, which Spurs ended up making a comeback, and then they ended up winning by 20 after being down 15 at halftime, was basically over midway through the fourth quarter. And I do think this. Listen, Anthony Edwards injured. Dante DiVincenzo out for the rest of the playoffs. Luka Doncic injured. Austin Reeves injured. Kevin Durant, nobody knows what the hell is going on with him. It has really affected, in my opinion, the first round of these playoffs. And the NBA can say all they want about load management and all this stuff. It's clearly not working because, once again, it's coming down to it's a war of attrition. And this Nuggets T-Wolves series was supposed to be the series of the first round. And we had questions about Anthony Edwards going into that series. And out of the 2 series I just mentioned, Rockets, Lakers, 3 out of the top 4 players in that series have played 1 or 0 games. And now
Austin Reeves might be coming back for the Lakers.
He might, but I don't even know if they need him to win that series. And now the Minnesota-Denver series has literally been tainted no matter who wins because literally Anthony Edwards hyperextended his knee.
And Dante DiVincenzo tore his ACL, I think, or his Achilles.
No, he tore his Achilles. He's gone. He's going to be Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. He's going to be gone for most of next year.
Yeah. There's got to be some type of curse or something because Dante DiVincenzo tore his Achilles. What jersey number was he wearing? 0. Tyrese Halliburton wears number 0. Tore his Achilles. Jason Tatum wears number 0. What type of injury did he have?
Well, I'll tell you the other thing is LeBron has said it months ago. The floor is way too spaced out. Guys are running too hard. They're making too many threes. DiVincenzo, in his case, he simply goes to just push off to go to a loose ball, and his leg gives out. Like, bam, he's done. That's it.
Yeah. But, so far, the playoffs have been okay. I don't feel like there's that one series that I'm like, oh my God, I have to watch it.
No, even I think the best overall series has been probably Knicks-Hawks in terms of even balance.
Yes.
Most of those games, the Knicks have control. They just blew the last minute of games 2 and 3, or they could have won both those games.
Yeah, CJ McCollum has been really good for the Hawks. But, I thought Spurs Trailblazers would be an okay series, but outside of game 2, where the Spurs probably would have won if Wemby doesn't get the concussion.
Absolutely.
That hasn't been a great series.
And the Thunder Suns wasn't even competitive. I mean, that was a joke of a series.
Oh, yeah. Devin Booker needs to get the hell out of Phoenix.
Well, here's the other thing. So I have 2 kind of major takeaways, and then we'll get back talking about each series. But I have 2 takes. One of them I think you're going to like. The other one I don't think you're going to like. So I'll start with the one that I think you're going to like. Is that these NBA playoffs have been a disaster for the NBA and their new media rights deal. I have no idea what channel the game is on, what time this game is, when the next game is going to be, until I have to look on NBA.com every single day because every single series is weirdly stretched out with games. Some days you get 2 days off, some days you get 1 day off. And then, for an example, tonight, There's 2 games on ESPN. There's another one at the same time streaming on Peacock and on NBC. Why are we having networks competing against each other in the playoffs? Even the NFL doesn't do that.
Yeah, and tomorrow, 2 games are on ESPN, and the third game is on Prime. Why? That makes no sense.
I don't understand it, and I don't understand why. For example, Nuggets T-Wolves. Okay, Game 4 was Saturday in Minnesota. Game 5 is Monday in Denver. Why is Cavs Raptors playing 2 games between Monday and Sunday?
I don't know. Like, Game 4 was Sunday, and they don't play again until Wednesday.
I don't get it. So now, Josh, this is where me and you, I think, are going to disagree. Because I was watching a certain game last night, and it dawned on me while watching it. You know how for the last 7 years, the NBA has not had a defending champion reach the conference finals. And I've been saying the NBA needs dynasties, they need villains, they need us to root against people. Josh, the NBA has its next villain team. They reside in Oklahoma City, and their name is the Thunder. I can't stand this team. I can't stand anybody on them. First of all, they have all the ingredients the Golden State Warriors have. They have a smart general manager in Bob Myers, the Warriors did. The Thunder have Sam Presti, who I have compared actually to the Eagles GM, Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs in all of sports. They have a superstar player whose antics drive people nuts. For Golden State, it was Steph Curry. It was the mouthpiece being out. It was all the 3-point shots. It was the cockiness. For SGA, like it or not, it is the constant flaring and drawing fouls worse than James Harden. And then they also have their Draymond Green, who I would argue this guy in Lou Dort may be even a dirtier player than Draymond Green, because we have now multiple incidents of him in the past few months. First, it was him clearly elbowing Nikola Jokic in the ribs when he goes up the court. And then Saturday in Game 3 in the third quarter, you can't tell me that he intentionally sticks out his leg and tries to trip. I'm not going to say try to injure, but he tries to hurt Devin Booker. And this Thunder team, in my opinion, they know how good they are, and they're toying with everybody, and they're having fun with it, and they're embracing the role. So good for them. But I'm telling you, from here on out, I can't stand this team. And I want either, if the Nuggets come back and they go on a playoff run, they could do it. Or if the Spurs get to the conference finals, I want them to whoop their tails.
If the Lakers get there, I think LA could give them a challenge.
Oh, I disagree.
If Luka and Austin Reeves are healthy.
Oh, I think even if Luka and Austin Reeves are healthy, I don't see how Oklahoma City doesn't win at least 3 of those games by 20 plus points. I don't think the Lakers match up with Oklahoma City at all. Period. DeAndre Ayton is like their only big. He is not stopping anybody in Oklahoma City.
Just that trio, though, could give the Lakers a chance. You are right about excuse me, about DeAndre Ayton. I will agree. Isaiah Hartenstein.
Did we not see the last game they played in Oklahoma City? Even before Luke and Austin Reeves got hurt, the game was over in 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But no, I understand what you're saying. I'm not like going to get all that upset about it, because I'm not like an OKC fan.
But you are an SGA fan.
Yeah,
and he's the driver of the snake. And this guy is getting more and more and worse at doing this foul baiting stuff. It's becoming ridiculous. Every time this guy gets in the lane, he gets a foul call. And I thought James Harden was bad at it for years. This guy is, and you can see it on some of the replays. He is clearly, and he gets the call.
Oh, no, I'm not denying it. He's just that good.
Well, again, if he's that good, then James Harden should be equally as good, and Harden doesn't get the calls at the time of the playoffs. So why if you look at the free throw numbers in that series between the Thunder and the Suns, it's not even close. And by the way, SGA may score 20 plus points for 120 games or whatever his streak was with Will Chamberlain. He could score 20 plus points at the free throw line every night without any free throws he shoots.
The one difference, though, between the Thunder and the Warriors had the Splash Brothers. The Thunder do not.
You're right. That didn't make Golden State any more likable, though.
No, I know, but you were comparing Golden State and OKC.
Well, here's the thing, though. Oklahoma City doesn't even need Jalen Williams. But I can make an argument Jalen Williams overall may be a better player in terms of scoring ability than Klay Thompson. Because while Klay was a great defender, Klay was mostly at his core a three-point shooter. Jalen Williams gave you 45 points in the finals doing everything.
I do think the Thunder do need Jalen Williams healthy to repeat.
I agree with that. Here's the other thing. They don't even need him to get to the conference finals, I would argue. And when I'm watching these playoffs, the difference between the Thunder, the Spurs, and maybe Boston, depending on how well they shoot, because Boston, you just never know. They're either going to beat you by 20 or they're going to lose by 20, depending on how they shoot. But it's those three teams, and then it's everybody else.
Yeah, I would in the East especially, it's Boston and everybody else. Like, there's nobody else I would say that is remotely close to Boston. By the way, in terms of the Celtics 76ers series, I want to get into this right now. The Philadelphia 76ers are better off without Joel Embiid. For God's sakes, did you not see how well BJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey played when Embiid was not there? The lane was open. They were making shots. They didn't have to force feed Embiid.
Well, game one, they did get blown out by 30, so.
You're right, but as soon as he comes back, he's immediately put back into the starting lineup, which I thought was a mistake. And Philly's offense looked clunky. They got horribly out-rebounded by the Celtics. By the way, I loved that the Celtics are up 20 on the road, and you can hear the chants of "We want Boston" throughout the Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is what I'll say to that. Boston is the biggest front-running team I've ever seen. Even more than Oklahoma City. When they shoot well, they can beat anybody. When they don't shoot well, they can lose to anybody because they will literally shoot 73s a game. That's their MO. You catch it and you shoot it. If it goes in, great. If it doesn't, oh well. And that's how they won the championship, and that's how they lost in the second round last year to the Knicks, and nothing changed. I don't even need to watch a Celtics game. I know exactly what I'm getting out of the Celtics. They're going to shoot the hell out of the ball, and they pray they go in. Now, they're good. Tatum has been better than I expected coming off the Achilles injury, no doubt about it. Peyton Pritchard has stepped up huge. Derek White has stepped up big again. They're taking care of business against Philadelphia, I believe. Again, I don't even know because I get the schedule confused. I think Game 5 is tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think that's one of the ESPN games.
It is.
They should finish them tonight, and then away to Knicks team who does match up well against Boston. We'll see. I don't know. The East is so bad. The East is not even close to the Western Conference. It's really sad.
It really is. The Eastern Conference is it feels like the Eastern Conference is the Boston Invitational, honestly.
Well, let's get into our team because you told me going into the series, you said Toronto's going to be a tough team. And you said that Toronto was going to take us to 6 games. And Josh, I know you texted me on Sunday. I know you said it was going to be 2-2 going back to Cleveland, and you were right on that, and I get it. My argument to you is This should not be 2-2 going back to Toronto. Or Cleveland. It should be 3-1 because the Raptors shot 32% from the field in game 4. They could not hit the side of a barn, and yet they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, who, no matter what you think of Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, I think me and you would both agree that at the very least, the Cavs should have the top 2, and I would argue along with Evan Mobley, the top 3 players in this series. And yet, in both games in Toronto, and I don't care about the crowd noise because Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, and at this point Evan Mobley, have been in enough playoff games to deal with noisy environments. All of them on this team, flat out in both of those games, did not come ready to play and proved to me and the entire Cleveland fan base that this team is not ready to win a championship because they are still soft. I thought they got over it. I thought they were going to come in with the James Harden edition and be an all-new look Cavs. No, this is the same fear me and you both had when they traded for James Harden, is when you need James Harden the most, he's going to have a classic James Harden game. But I got to say this, even with the classic James Harden game in game 4, the scary part is, out of the big 4 the Cavs have, he was the best player on Sunday.
James Harden is, when you get to a game 6 or a game 7, it's like he's allergic. I mean, we have countless examples. Game 6 and game 7 when he was with Philadelphia against Boston, when he was with Houston in the series against San Antonio, in the series against Golden State when he was with Houston in the conference finals. There's probably other examples I'm leaving out, but he's like a bad poker hand. He folds. I did not want this series to get to a game 6, yet here we are. I will say this movie feels very familiar because it played out exactly like this in the 2016 Eastern Conference Finals, which ironically enough or coincidentally were also against the Toronto Raptors. We all know how that season ended up.
Here's the difference, though. In that series, we had the big 3 of LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. That the 2 of them made the NBA Finals the year before, and nobody had any doubt the Cavs were going to eventually win that series. Nobody believed that the Raptors were going to actually beat that Cavs team. There are legitimate people who think the Raptors are going to win this thing in 6 games now.
Yeah, and we saw this same type of script play out just a couple years ago in round 1 in a 4-5 matchup against the Orlando Magic.
Yes, but we should be better than that now, and I guess that's the point. The Cavs should win this series. They probably are going to win the series, but they upgraded, and I don't care what anybody says, it is the truth. James Harden is a better player than Darius Garland. They should have no problem with this Raptors team that has not seen them since November. And the Raptors, out of all teams in the NBA playoffs, have the least amount of games with playoff experience. This Cavs team should be better than this, is my point.
Yeah. And I know you didn't like JB Bickerstaff. I get that. But was Kenny Atkinson really that much of an upgrade?
Well, he's a little bit of an upgrade. Are we not watching what's going on in Orlando right now? And that team is falling apart worse than the Cavs are.
I'm not trying to defend JB Bickerstaff. But I'm just saying we fired him. Whether that was right or wrong, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, here's the question I think you're asking. Is it a coaching issue? Or is it we just have soft players? Well, here's my thing, too. And I've said this, and I know you disagree with me a little bit. I know friend of the show, Jalen Sandvik, very disagrees with me. Show me the evidence that Donovan Mitchell is that guy in the postseason. Show me the evidence that Donovan Mitchell can be a number 1 and lead a team to the conference finals, because in 9 years, he hasn't done it yet. And Donovan Mitchell, when you needed him the most, in that game 4, he started off great. He had 10 points in the fourth quarter. The Cavs were up, cruising to victory. And in the second, third, and fourth quarter of those games, Toronto went on multiple +10, +12, scoring runs. And both of our point and shooting guard disappeared down the stretch when you needed them the most. So this is not just a James Harden issue. It's not just an Evan Mobley issue, which Evan Mobley at this point, if we lose this series, needs to be traded immediately off another planet not named Earth. And the Cavs need to start thinking about this. This is our chance to win the championship, and we blew it, and it's time to blow everything up. And you can forget the plan of LeBron James coming back to save us in Cleveland, because the Lakers, without their two best players, are up 3-1 of the Houston Rockets right now, and we can't even get out of the series with the freaking baby Toronto Raptors.
I don't even know what to say with this series. First of all, why is Max Strus getting so many minutes off the bench? I don't understand that. And I thought Keon Ellis was going to be a difference maker. He really hasn't done anything.
Has he even played in all of this series? I don't even remember really seeing him a lot. Maybe 5 minutes. Thomas Bryant hasn't played a lot at all. It really feels like they have shrunk the rotation. And one of the biggest things about the Cavs post-trade deadline was they got depth.
Yeah, and they really haven't utilized that depth. Again, I asked the question, why is Max Strus getting so many minutes? He hasn't done anything in this
I'll ask this question. Why is Dean Wade starting?
I would like Jalen Tyson to start, honestly.
I would agree, though. Jalen did point this out to me the other day over text. Tyson's had a terrible series, and I agree with that. The Cavs are still trying to find their small forward issue. It's been the issue for years. And let's be clear, by the way, Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett have not had a good series. Scotty Barnes had an okay series. He had a really good game 3 and an okay game 4.
The Raptors and RJ Barrett, I believe, both had 33 in game 3.
They did. But again, that was game 3. That was the game Toronto came out with their hair on fire. They played well at home. But if the Cavs were truly the better team, like I expected them to drop 1 in Toronto and then come back home and win it in 5. That Sunday was an abomination and an embarrassment. The Guardians lost 2 out of 3 in Toronto. The Cavs lost that series 0-2 in Toronto. Let's get our teams the hell out of that country, because clearly we don't do well there.
That's the 3rd time already this season that the Cavs and Guardians have played in the same city on the same day.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah, and in all 3 instances, both Cleveland teams lost.
I did not know that. I knew about L.A., Toronto, and then there was another one recently too. Atlanta, that's right. All right, well, let's talk about the Orlando Magic, who, Josh, you said going into the playoffs, when they were in the play-in tournament, you're like, oh, Orlando's not going to win because their coach, Jamal Mosley, is about to get fired, and I agreed with you. Here they are. They're about to go to the second round of the playoffs unless they majorly collapse against the Pistons team, because like it or not, right now, the best player in this entire series has been Pablo Banchero and not Cade Cunningham.
Do you know that Detroit is 10.5-point favorites tonight?
Yeah, you told me that. You mean tomorrow night, because that's the game on Prime tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Which, again, that series was weird because game 1 was Sunday. Then game 2 was until Wednesday. Game 3 then was Saturday. And game 4 was Monday. So, but again, they had 2 days off at the start of the series, which I thought was weird. But no, I mean, based off the way they're playing in this series, I would take Orlando plus 10.5.
Yeah, one of the Wagner boys is injured.
France, the better shooter, which could be a blow for them for a team that outside of Desmond Bane can't shoot. But this is the weird thing is, we both had Orlando as the top 3-4 seed coming into the year, and actually they were projected to have 9 more wins coming into the year than Detroit. So you could really make the case that this Orlando team is not a typical 8-seed Magic team. They're just a team that got healthy and got together at the right time and are somehow rallying around the coach that was all but fired 10 days ago.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened from the play-in tournament to this series, but if you watch that play-in tournament, they weren't a physical team at all. Like
they lost to Philly pretty bad in that first game, and then all of a sudden, starting with that Charlotte game, they've been on absolute fire.
Yeah, but it really started with game 1 in Detroit, where they all of a sudden brought the physicality, and you're like, where has this been?
Well, you knew it was going to be physical. Orlando was always a physical team, but you kind of thought Detroit had more talent. But what we kept saying about the Pistons,
the Pistons, they basically only have Cade Cunningham. You can't count on
that was my point, and that's what we've been saying about the Pistons all regular season. They don't have a reliable second scorer. The fact that Karis LeVert's out there is freaking laughable. Great job, JB Bickerstaff. Keep playing that bum-ass clown, just like the way you did in Cleveland. Listen, I wanted Cavs Pistons. At this point, Josh, it's very much on the board. A series between the Raptors and the Magic. Two teams that can't shoot, by the way, are going to compete to play against either the Celtics or the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, it might be the Knicks. It might be the Hawks, though, because who knows?
Well, are we sure about that? Because let's get to that series next. I know it's 2-2. But in my opinion, the Knicks have dominated this series.
Cat finally showed up for a game. Good Lord.
Game 4, they dominated. And Game 1, they dominated. And Game 2, they gave away the lead. And Game 3, they had a chance and couldn't get a shot off late. Listen, Atlanta's a nice story. But I've told you this in the playoffs. Nice stories come to die. And I think that's what this is. I kind of felt the same way about Knicks Pistons last year. Remember when the Knicks were struggling with the Pistons, and it's like, they're tied 2-2. They really shouldn't be. And they go on, they beat the Pistons in 6 in a nuggin tough series. And then they end up knocking out the Celtics in 6 games. I don't know. Call me crazy if I'm still a believer in the Knicks.
I'm not sold on the Knicks. I haven't been. Even at the start of these playoffs, I wasn't sold on them. I really wasn't. Mikal Bridges has been pathetic. Horrible. That was one of the stupidest trades I've ever seen. Yeah, let's give up, what was it, 4 or 5?
5 first-round picks, which are going to be more valuable now because of NIL. In fairness to the Knicks, they didn't know that the last couple of years. So
I'm pretty sure those picks are unprotected as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure you're right on that. And here's the other thing. This is why that trade is going to end up being a mistake, because now that they don't have those picks, they don't really have anything else to go give up outside of Karl-Anthony Towns to go get another star, because that's what they need. Because you mentioned how Cat showed up in Game 4. But before that, Jalen Brunson has been very sloppy in this series. He has not looked like himself on both ends. He looks like a man that is carrying a team and playing 1-on-5.
Yeah, I don't trust the Knicks. I really don't. I could see a scenario where the Hawks steal these next 2 games and knock them out. I really could.
I think they have to win Game 5, because I think if it gets to a Game 7, the Knicks are going to win.
Yeah. No, it's interesting you say that, because going back to the Denver-Minnesota series that we were talking about earlier, for obvious reasons, Minnesota has to win Game 6, but it's not just because that means they close out the series. It's also because there's no way you're going back to Denver without your 2 best players and winning a Game 7.
Now, we know they did win Game 7 a couple years ago in Denver, but that was obviously the Ant comeback. They were down 20 at halftime. That was our most famous bet on this show. I do want to say about this series, Josh, we have found our next great rivalry in the NBA. And it's this one right here.
I loved the scuffle at the end of, what was it, Game 4?
Yes, and by the way, I think that was Jokic taking out his frustration because they blew that game with the Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo both going down to Sumu, who he was one of the reasons why I picked the Bulls to be a playoff team this year. And then they gave away him to the T-Wolves for no reason. Had the game of his life on Saturday night. And Denver, you know what's funny? Denver doesn't look interested. Like even last night, have you know? Because I noticed it even at the start of the playoffs, and I don't know if you've seen Jokic's 3-point percentage for this series is below 20%.
He doesn't look right to me.
He doesn't look right. He doesn't look interested. I've joked about it, but I think it's true. I think he's more interested in the Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend. That's what he looks like to me. I mean, Saturday night, I'm watching that game, and I've been very clear. I like the Nuggets. I want to see Nuggets Spurs. So I am absolutely 100% rooting for the Nuggets in this series. And I'm like, Jokic, just go. He is letting Rudy Gobert absolutely put him in a body bag.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Like, Jokic, for the most part, has owned Rudy Gobert throughout his career, and yet this series, Rudy Gobert looks like the second coming of Bill Russell.
Here's the other thing. They traded away Michael Porter for Cam Johnson, and Michael Porter was bad last year. Cam Johnson's arguably been worse.
And Denver struggled offensively without Aaron Gordon.
They struggled defensively without Aaron Gordon, too. I wanted to tell you this. I'm glad you brought this up. I, a lot of times, talk about if you have the superstar in the NBA, you're going to win more games than you don't. I don't think there may have been ever a role player that's been more valuable to one specific team than Aaron Gordon is the Denver Nuggets. They're not the same team without him at all.
They're not. They're not at all. You're 100% right.
They need a third scorer because it seems like, Jokic has put up Jokic numbers, even though it has not been a great series for him. Jamal Murray has actually played really well in this series. But when Aaron Gordon's not healthy, they don't know where to get the production from because Bruce Brown's more of a defender. Christian Braun's inconsistent. Valanciunas has barely played in this series and not giving you any offensive production. So they need Aaron Gordon.
They really do.
So my takeaway from this, though, is this. I'm heartbroken for this series that Anthony Edwards went out because I think Minnesota is the better team after watching them through 4 games. But I know they won Saturday night, but as soon as that bell sounded, my takeaway was, okay, Nuggets in 7. Just because I don't think Minnesota is going to have the capability to get off that mat and go win a playoff game, even at home. If Jokic and Murray let basically the T-Wolves backup backcourt beat them in a Game 6 in Minnesota, in my opinion, Josh, is what's on the line. Nikola Jokic's status as the best player in the world is on the line. Because if they lose this series, he won't be that anymore. It will be a debate, and we'll find it out on the court between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Victor Wembanyama in the conference finals.
Damn. You're putting all that on a first-round series, even though he's already a champion, a 2-time MVP?
Well, again, look at it like this, right? If the Nuggets lose this first-round series, in the last 2 years, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will have won 2 NBA regular season MVPs, been to the conference finals twice, and potentially a back-to-back finals MVP. You would have to say at that point he's a better player than Nikola Jokic. If Victor Wembanyama in year 3 goes to the conference finals and potentially beats OKC and then wins the championship, he's already done more in 3 years than Nikola Jokic did. And Jokic right now is on the path that Giannis Antetokounmpo was on, which was for 2 years, he's going to win back-to-back regular season MVPs. He's going to win finals MVP. He's going to be viewed as the best player in the world. And then what happened? The team got worse around him. They had their shot to go back-to-back, just like Milwaukee did against Boston in 2022. They lose Game 7, just like Denver did, losing the Game 7 against Minnesota. Next year, second round, Milwaukee eliminated first round. This year, Denver could be first rounded the same way the Bucks were. It is literally almost to a T, the same exact career.
Yeah, and we saw, like with Milwaukee last year, they were first rounded by Indiana.
And now look where they are. And that's what I'm scared is going to happen to Jokic is if they don't win the championship this year, is this front office going to get impatient? and they don't have a lot of assets to trade. Do you break up the Jamal Murray Jokic core and say, we got one championship out of it? We made another conference finals. It was in the bubble against the Lakers, but we did that. And we got one title out of it, and that's all we could do.
You can't dismiss it out of the realm of possibilities. I can tell you that, but
here's the thing for Minnesota that hurts so much too, especially if they lose this series. The whole offseason, they're going to be driving themselves crazy because they made the conference runs back-to-back years, and their GM came from Denver and built this team just to beat Denver. And if they lose because of injuries, they're going to feel like they have to run it back, which almost never works.
Yeah, because you see, everybody else gets better.
And by the way, I talked about this. This did not come out of left field because Ant was injured all the way back in March. He was still limping even in earlier games in this series.
Yeah. And from what I understand, this hyperextension wasn't even on the knee that was bothering him.
Correct. It was on the opposite knee, which is even worse because, as you know, oftentimes guys compensate, which may have been what happened here. He's compensating for the injury, and then you put too much pressure on the other side of your body.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for Minnesota to do what they did in Game 4. I get that it's on their home court. They have a chance to close out the series, but it's just hard for me to think they can do it again.
Yeah, no, I got Denver in 7, but the flip side of this, though, is this going to be a rallying cry for Denver? Because if they do get the Spurs, because we both expect the Spurs to close out Portland tonight, like I said, this could be a legacy series for Jokic, but there's nothing stopping them from them moving on, and maybe San Antonio is a better matchup for them. I just think Minnesota is a terrible matchup for them.
You might be right because they have the two bigs. Julius Randle, he's not your prototypical big, but
he's a linebacker playing basketball.
Yes. And he's made a difference for Minnesota since he's gotten there. You have to admit that. No, I like what you said about this being the new rivalry. I hope that when Seattle and Vegas both come into the league, keep Minnesota and Denver in the same division. They need to.
I don't know about that. What if you put Ant in the Eastern Conference and then you could have this as a finals matchup?
That's true. But at the same time, like seeing them meet over the course of 4 times a season, I get that.
I think the West is going to have 2 great rivalries. I think Nuggets, T-Wolves, and Thunder Spurs moving forward are going to be like what the Mavs and the Spurs, or like the Lakers and Spurs, or like
I wouldn't just dismiss Thunder Nuggets.
No, and I agree with you. Like, I think that combination right there, and you could even throw the Lakers, maybe with Luka and what they do post LeBron in that conversation.
Maybe. You definitely can't include the Houston Rockets. What the hell is happening?
This is strange. I don't know what happened. Josh, do you know that statistically in Vegas, the Lakers do finish this off, which I do think that they will tomorrow night. This will be the 3rd biggest statistical upset by odds makers in the history of the NBA in the first round, which doesn't feel right because I had picked the Lakers in 7, partially because I said I thought Luka and Austin Reeves are coming back. I said if they do not come back in this series, Houston might sweep them. I didn't know Kevin Durant all of a sudden was going to injure his knee in reportedly warm-ups in Game 1. But the weird thing about it is they've asked Ahmed Thompson about Kevin Durant's status, and he says, I haven't talked to the guy. What?
Yeah, this whole situation is really weird. There's now reports like the Cavs may be interested in trying to go after Kevin Durant.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. I do not want that headache, that cancer of a player, Kevin Durant. I would argue there is nobody that has tarnished and ruined his legacy more after he left Golden State than Kevin Durant. You can say all you want about, oh, he was ring chasing and his legacy and all that.
I've got a better take for you.
Go ahead.
Not only has this tarnished and ruined Kevin Durant's legacy, this has strengthened Stephen Curry's legacy.
I don't know about that. I would argue Durant left the perfect situation in Golden State, and he's not a leader.
Which is exactly why I'm saying him having all this trouble with Houston, Phoenix, Brooklyn.
By the way, he chose Phoenix, which was odd to begin with, and he chose Houston. Let's put that out there.
And he chose Brooklyn.
He did, and I did defend the Rockets move, and I did think it was going to work. And you know what? It might have worked if they had Fred VanVleet, a point guard. Maybe he could have settled the ship. But guess what?
I told you.
But guess what? Instead of fixing the problem, they decide we don't need a point guard. Wait, you what? That's like saying in the NFL, oh, that's okay. We don't need a quarterback.
Don't you remember when we were making our predictions? I said losing Fred VanVleet was going to hurt the Rockets.
Yes, and I didn't think he was going to be out the entire year. I thought, maybe 6-7 months he could get back like the way Jason Tatum did.
Jason Tatum is a complete and total anomaly, for God's sake.
Clearly, by the way, the Rockets play better without him.
They do. It's like I said with Joel Embiid earlier. I know, again, the 76ers got blown out by 30 in game 1, but I still think they play better without Embiid.
Now, here's the problem if you're the Lakers. How do you evaluate the end of this season? How do you evaluate, do we bring back LeBron or not? Because LeBron, game 2 and game 3 was a vintage LeBron game, especially game 3 towards the end when they made that incredible comeback when Stan Van Gundy with 36 seconds said, Houston's going to hold on to this game. No, they didn't. But I don't know what you do if you're the Lakers, especially if you get smoked by Oklahoma City. The Lakers' reward for overcoming all these odds is they're going to face the best team the NBA has seen in the past 3 years, hands down.
Yeah. And I will say LeBron versus SGA would be really good games, I think.
Like I said, I don't think they're close. And these NBA playoffs have been nothing but blowouts. I said it the other day. There were 8 games on this weekend. By about halftime, 5 of them were over.
Wait, I want to talk about something.
Go ahead.
Because we were talking about the Toronto-Cleveland series earlier, and we also mentioned the Detroit-Orlando series. What the hell happened in Game 4 of both those series? It was like we went back to the 90s. Neither team scored 100. I think the score at the end of the first quarter in Cavs-Raptors was like 17-15.
And sometimes it's good basketball. I keep saying 2016 Game 7, the final score was 93-89. I don't mind low-scoring games, but when you're shooting 30% from the field and winning a basketball game, you should not be able to do that.
Orlando only scored 94 points, and they still managed to win.
Well, Orlando, by the way, did you know this? They're shooting less than 35% from the field in the series, and they're up 3-1.
And again, Detroit is a 10.5-point favorite.
Josh, me and you both acknowledge going into the playoffs, the NBA has been beat up by teams tanking, the NFL taking over, the too many threes. Charles Barkley, I said that, I don't know if you heard him. First of all, pregame before Lakers-Rockets Game 4, he said the best thing about the Houston is that they have a nice airport, so the Rockets can get immediately out of there after Game 4. And then he said that the first half of Cavs-Raptors was the worst basketball game played since 1918. So the NBA is getting absolutely annihilated in the press right now, and Adam Silver is basically, everything is fine.
Yeah, I don't get why the NBA thought it was a good idea to do playoff games. I get that the playoffs have to go on, but you're going to get killed against the NFL draft.
This has been my argument. The NBA needs to shorten the first round. I have argued best of 3. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. And I even said, could you imagine that Orlando series or even like Spurs Blazers, if it was best of 3 and they were to go into game 3 without Wemby, we would have said, oh my God, are the Spurs going to get ousted in the first round? Now it's like, hey, it's a best of 7. Victor Wembanyama will come back. There's no drama.
Yep. I personally like game best of 5 a little bit better.
Well, even if it's a best of 5, Orlando last night would have got a better effort out of the Pistons last night. I guarantee you, if it was a do or die game 5 or game 4.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. As much as I hate to admit it, yeah, the NBA playoffs, especially the first round, should be best of 5. Why do you think, the MLB playoffs have been so good over the last couple of years?
They were a best of 5 to 3, and then they changed it to best of 7. It's too much. And by the way, the first round goes longer than the conference finals half the time.
Isn't the LDS series in Major League Baseball a best of 5?
The divisional series, yes, it is.
That's what I said. LDS.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and then the AL or NLCS is best of 7, and
best
the
of 7, and they do the 2-3-2 format, and they go, you play back to back, travel day, back to back to back. In the NBA, it's let's play one game, then we'll give you 2 days off, then we'll play another game, then we'll give you another 2 days off. Why? It's so hard to get into and that's the other thing that I think is making these playoff series go longer. It's harder, and maybe they want to do it. Maybe this is why. It's harder to get into a rhythm, not only as a fan, but as a player, when your schedule is all thrown off. These guys are used to playing every other day or even some back-to-backs at this point.